Hollywood has one rule they never put in writing. The bigger the smile, the darker the secret behind it. And nobody embodied that rule more completely than Ellen DeGeneres. Be kind to one another. For nearly 2 decades, those 4 words weren't just a sign-off. They were a brand, a carefully engineered identity, a promise made to millions of Americans every single day. Ellen danced. Ellen laughed. Ellen cried with her guests, handed out cars, and made ordinary people feel genuinely seen on national television. She was the warm, safe, wholesome face that America invited into their living rooms every afternoon for 19 years straight. But here's the thing about walls built on lies. Eventually, someone starts talking about what's on the other side. Katt Williams started talking. And the wall came down, January 3rd, 2024. That's the date Hollywood quietly started sweating. Comedian Katt Williams sat down with Shannon Sharpe on the podcast Club Shay Shay. And what followed wasn't just an interview. It was a reckoning. That conversation exploded to over 83 million views almost overnight. And it opened with one line that froze the entire entertainment industry cold. All these big deviants are catching hell in 2024. All lies will be exposed. He wasn't performing. He wasn't playing a character. He was naming names and pulling back curtains on Kevin Hart, Steve Harvey, Diddy, and the entire machine that Hollywood uses to manufacture saints out of sinners. And here's what most people missed. Katt Williams later admitted he held back. At the Vulture Festival, months after the interview, he said, "I erased all of the knockout blows and just left the jabs." Just the jabs. And it still shook the world. By the end of 2024, people weren't calling him a comedian anymore. They were calling him America's prophet. Because everything he predicted, every single thing, came true. So where does Ellen DeGeneres fit into all of this?
When you go, whew, this guy. Because, I mean, what are we reacting to? What are we reacting to? You're the one that put him in a...
To understand what happened to her, you first have to understand what she built. When the Ellen DeGeneres Show launched in 2003, she didn't just host a talk show, she engineered a persona. The kindest person in the room. The one celebrity who genuinely cared. At its peak, her show pulled nearly 4.6 million viewers a week. She hosted the Oscars. She danced with presidents. She made America fall in love with her, brick by brick, until she became completely untouchable. The brand was airtight. Ellen equals kindness. Ellen equals safety. Ellen equals warmth. And for 19 years, the machine protected her. Anytime something uncomfortable surfaced, the industry shrugged. Oh, that's just Ellen being Ellen. But there were warning signs, right there on television, hiding in plain sight. In 2008, Mariah Carey appeared on the show while secretly pregnant. She hadn't told a single soul. She had suffered miscarriages before, and she was protecting herself, protecting something deeply fragile and deeply personal. Ellen knew the rumors were swirling. So on live television, in front of a full studio audience, Ellen handed Mariah a glass of champagne and said, "People are saying you're pregnant. Let's toast to you not being pregnant, if you're not pregnant." Mariah panicked visibly. She looked around the room, desperate, and said, "I can't believe you did this to me, Ellen. This is peer pressure." The audience laughed. Ellen smiled. The show moved on. What nobody acknowledged in that moment was that Mariah Carey was pregnant, and she lost that baby just weeks after that broadcast. She had fought to keep that pregnancy safe and private, and Ellen DeGeneres took that choice away from her on national television. Years later, Mariah finally spoke about it. She said she was extremely uncomfortable and had a hard time grappling with the aftermath. She said she wished Ellen had shown even a basic level of empathy. Millions of people watched it happen. Nobody said a word. Then came Taylor Swift. In 2013, a 23-year-old Taylor sat on Ellen's couch, and within minutes, Ellen was pushing her about her love life. A rumored relationship Taylor had already denied multiple times. Then, without asking, Ellen launched a game. On screen, without Taylor's consent. Taylor immediately pushed back. "I don't know if I'm gonna do this. This is the one thing I have, the one shred of dignity I have." Ellen rang the bell anyway. A slideshow of Taylor's rumored ex-boyfriends appeared behind her. Taylor begged her to stop. Ellen rang the bell again, and Taylor Swift, one of the most powerful artists in the world, sat there looking like she was about to cry. Her final words in that segment, "This makes me feel so bad about myself." Two massive stars, two moments of public humiliation, both laughed off as entertainment. both now understood as something far more telling about who Ellen DeGeneres really was behind the smile. Then came July 17, 2020, the day the wall cracked wide open.
Them and holding them accountable like everybody else. Wouldn't you grade them on a curve?
BuzzFeed News published an investigation that changed everything. They spoke with 11 current and former employees of the show. Every single one of them spoke anonymously because they were terrified of what speaking openly might cost them. What they described was not a happy workplace. Employees said they were fired after taking medical leave, fired for attending a family funeral. One employee, after experiencing racist remarks from a senior producer, walked off the job rather than keep enduring it. And most chilling of all, staff were instructed by their managers not to speak to Ellen if they saw her around the office. Don't make eye contact. Don't acknowledge her. One former employee said it plainly. That be kind bullshit only happens when the cameras are on. It's all for show. 2 weeks later, BuzzFeed published a second report. Darker than the first. More than 10 accusations of sexual harassment and misconduct were made against a senior executive producer. 5 separate allegations of inappropriate touching were leveled against another. 47 former employees described the show's leadership as people who led with intimidation and fear on a daily basis. Not one person, not a personal grudge. 47 human beings describing the same environment, the same fear, the same silence. And then there was this one detail that, above everything else, tells you exactly what kind of culture existed behind those studio doors. One employee took a month of medical leave to check into a mental health facility, following a suicide attempt. The week they returned to work, they were told their position had been eliminated. This happened on the show of the woman who ended every single episode by telling the world to be kind. When the investigation broke, Ellen responded. In a letter to her staff, she said the show was always meant to be a place of happiness and that she was disappointed things had gone differently. On air, she told her audience, "I take responsibility for what happens at my show." But then, in her 2024 Netflix special, she said something that revealed everything. It looked like I was the boss. The show was called Ellen. There were buildings all over the Warner Brothers lot that said Ellen. But I don't think that meant I should be in charge. She spent 19 years building an empire with her name on every wall, and then stood in front of a camera and said she wasn't responsible for what happened inside it. The public wasn't buying it. Nobody was. The consequences came fast. 3 executive producers were fired. Ratings collapsed. Advertisers pulled back. In 2021, Ellen announced the show's final season. The Ellen DeGeneres Show ended in May 2022, not with a celebration, but with wreckage. In 2024, she tried one final comeback with a Netflix special. On stage, she acknowledged everything with her signature deadpan. "I got kicked out of show business." The Be Kind girl wasn't kind. That was the headline. It fell completely flat. Critics called it self-pitying. Audiences didn't return. And so Ellen DeGeneres and her wife quietly sold their California properties and moved to the Cotswolds in England. The woman who once danced with presidents left the country without fanfare. Gone. Here is what makes this story truly remarkable. Katt Williams, a man that Hollywood spent years trying to dismiss as unstable and irrelevant, turned out to be the only person with the courage to describe exactly how this system works. While Ellen was still protected, while the industry was still calling her the Queen of Nice, Katt Williams was already explaining the blueprint. How Hollywood builds wholesome packaging around people who are anything but wholesome. How NDAs, fear, and media control keep the truth buried for decades. How the machine picks its chosen ones, dresses them up, hands them a catchphrase about kindness, and lets them run. You can build the biggest PR wall in the world, but if what's behind it is rotten, eventually the wall comes down. Ellen's held for 19 years. Until it didn't. All lies will be exposed. He was right about Diddy. He was right about the industry. And the Ellen DeGeneres story proves he was right about the entire system. The name was almost erased, and the man who saw it coming was the one nobody in Hollywood wanted to listen to. So tell me, did you ever truly believe the Be Kind brand was real? Or did some part of you always know something was off? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this hit different, you already know what to do.